Welcome to your lesson on times 0 and times 1. These are our first two facts that we will learn, and we're going to start with times 0. Times 0 is a very easy fact. Our rule is that anything times 0 is equal to 0. One of the other things that we're going to learn is the protocol for doing our multiplication facts, and this is going to be very important, and we're going to have to use this throughout all of our multiplication facts. It becomes more important as we get to the later lessons. So let's start off with 3 times 0. When we see 3 times 0, we have two choices here. We're either using a 0 rule or a 3 rule, and we have to make the decision which rule are we going to use, because as we get through later lessons, we're going to have the choice. We're going to know rules for 3s and we're going to know rules for 0s, and we get to choose which rule we want to use. Right now, we're only going to know how to use the 0 rule, so obviously we're going to select that. But to make it clear that we have selected that we're doing the 0 rule, we're going to put a circle around the rule that we select, and then we're going to underline the other number. That shows that the action is on the other number. So the action is on the 3. In this case, it doesn't matter because the 0 rule says that anything times 0 is equal to 0. So we get 0 in any case, no matter what the action number is. So let's do another one. Let's do 0 times 7. Can you tell what the answer is going to be? Well, let's first go ahead and set it up just so we get used to doing this. Again, it doesn't matter at all in this case, but just to get used to it, circle the 0. It tells us we've selected the 0 rule. Underline the 7, that's our action number, and the 0 rule tells us that anything times 0 is equal to what? You've got it, 0. So those are really easy. So you're going to go ahead and practice some of those, but let's go ahead and do our times 1s. Our times 1 is that anything times 1 is equal to itself. So let's do 5 times 1. Now you can see here the circling becomes a little bit more important. Again, I can choose to do a 5 rule or a 1 rule. I'm going to select the 1 rule. So then I'm going to underline the 5 and the action's on the 5. Well, here it becomes important because I know that the action is on the 5 and the rule is it equals itself. Well, what does itself refer to? It refers to the action number, the number that I've underlined, 5. So the answer is 5. Let's do another one. Let's do 231 times 1. I'm going to circle the 1 because that's the rule that I'm doing, and I'm going to underline 231 because that's the action number. It doesn't matter that this is a really big number because I look at my rule. My rule says that it's equal to itself. Itself is the action number, which is 231. So that is what I write as my answer, 231. So let's give you one to do before we conclude. If I gave you 1 times 8, again, you would be selecting, do I want to use the 8 rule or do I want to use the 1 rule? Well, we've only taught you the 1 rule, so you're going to circle the 1. You're going to underline the 8. The action's on the 8. So I'll give you a minute. What do you get for an answer? You're correct. You get an 8. You get the number itself. So before you move on to your next lesson, you want to go ahead and practice a bunch of times 0s and times 1s, and then you will move on to your next lesson, which will be times 10 and times 11. Again, it is important that you go through the order prescribed by the curriculum. You do not want to go in numerical order, otherwise the curriculum will not work right because we have it set up to go in order from easiest facts to hardest facts. Alrighty, this concludes this lesson, and we will see you at our next lesson.